Yeah, so my dad was actually beaten a few months before that, and he was beaten, and he wasn't beaten today, but his fingers were cut off. And so did my uncle, was also attacked and beaten. And then we were, we came home for Easter holiday, obviously, April. And then on the day that my father is supposed to get me, my sister, and my brother, who are supposed to be having school supplies, books and everything, and clothes and so on, and we were very excited to wanting to go to the market with dad to go get all that stuff. And then we see the parents start talking, and in a way that they don't want us to know and hear. We hadn't heard the announcement over the radio. I didn't. My brother did, because as little teenager boys with politics, but before we came for the holidays, I had actually received a death threat of a letter as a letter at my school, at the door of our dorms, and I'm the one that picked that letter of saying, Tutsis will not come back, we'll kill them. And if they do, they would die here. That was a death threat that as a 13-year-old, you are the one picking up that announcement. You're like, should I show everybody else, or should I hide this as a 13-year-old? But I had a girl who was in senior 5, and she was a Hutu, and I thought, well, I'm going to give it to her so she can tell me what to do with it. Again, that's me being silly. And I went to her, and she said, yeah, it is. You're on the list. We have made list. So she let me know that before we went home, we were on the list of the people that are supposed to die. So I already went home with the fear, but I didn't tell my parents about it. But at this point, my sister had already been killed. My baby sister had already been killed as well. So I'm actually seeing all these signs. My dad had been in jail. My dad has been beaten. My uncles have been beaten. We had people attack our house from time to time. My sister has been killed. I had this death threat given to the school. So all these things.
If I may cut you short, because this is not a story that is told enough.
Yes.
The story of how Tutsis who would go to the hospital at the time would be treated in such a way that they would actually, because they had started killing and doing all these evil things. I think this is not a story that is told enough, and I would like you to go back to the story of your sister and how she dies in the hospital simply because her parents are Tutsis.
Yeah, I think most of us who write or tell our testimonies, most of the time when we are given time, obviously if you're given 20 minutes, you will tell how you survived during the genocide and after what happened after the genocide. So there's probably sometimes not enough time to tell, and that's why we write books. But my baby sister that my parents had after my dad was jailed and everything had taken away from him, obviously my parents had a baby, and through that baby, it's really a terrible time because my dad is going through depression. My dad actually was very sick, bedridden, and couldn't get out of bed for 4 months. And now they had a baby, and the baby got very sick. In fact, I remember the day that they had the baby because I helped my mom giving birth to the baby as a 12-year-old in our bathroom at night. Because we can't go to the hospital, but also there's that fear. If we go to the hospital, we'll be attacked. Remember, my dad had already been attacked. So my mom had the baby, had already trained me how to help her to have a baby. As a 12-year-old, I delivered a baby, my baby sister, right there. Scary, but I did it. But she was born, I don't know what sickness that she had, but she was born with a sickness that, that if you give her milk, then the milk will come out through her nose. So obviously she was sick. But then when I went, it was time for me to go to a boarding school, and then my mom took the baby to the hospital at one of the occasions, and the baby got killed in the hospital. My mom, the way she described it, said she went outside, whether to the bathroom or whatever, I don't know, but she came back and the nurse had twisted I don't know how you call it. the drip in her, because if you can't find veins in the baby, and then had disconnected the everything that was supposed to really kill the baby. My mom didn't tell that story until later. So she went home because it was that time you couldn't complain about anything that was done to you. And so when I came home, the first time that I came home for holidays, I had not been brought home for the burial for my sister. So now I'm coming home for the Easter holidays, and I already knew that my sister had already passed and so on. And those stories, we didn't get to grieve because we had no right to grieve. I came home and my baby sister is dead. In between, my mom actually came to visit me at school, and she couldn't tell me that my baby sister, that she had just buried a baby. Imagine that pain of a mother who doesn't have the right to report a death of her child and can't tell her own daughter that she just lost her sister, my sister.
I think that's the same thing that happens when your dad is beaten and you're told not to mention
anything to your friends, not to say anything whatsoever, and your money is taken. So all these things are the way that that Tutsis were treated, leading to the genocide. That all these stories that need to be told, because people who say, well, the genocide happened because the plane was shot, and it was because that was just a plan for them to trigger what they had. Because when I was,
you received a letter from school before,
right, and when we were 12 and we're still in primary school, and the children are telling us that their parents are having meetings, and there's graves that are prepared for us. That was 1992. That was 1993. That was 1991. That we were being told that we were on the list. That was no plane shot at all. But anyways, to come back to that, those are all things that we suffered. Slowly people were being killed, but you had no right to report any of it. Yeah.
My goodness. So that's on 7th.
Yes.
Your dad is planning to go to shopping, and then you hear this announcement.
And then the announcement had already been passed the night before, but we didn't know. And so the announcement had been passed on the 6th and night. But the parents, and then now my brother comes to us and said, yeah, the president's plane is being shot. And I'm like, great, we're gonna start going to good schools. Because remember, not so sure. Again, you weren't old enough. But when we did the national exams, which the kids just did, when we did the national exams as Tutsi children, you didn't even bother to go look if you were on the list, because you knew your name will be replaced by a Hutu children. So we didn't even bother to go for the first list. We didn't bother to go we used to go to Komin, to the mayor's office, to see the names of the people that have passed and what schools they've been sent to. We didn't bother to go. Like Claudette, who used to be the top of our class every single time, and all the other Tutsi children. But I didn't go to check because we knew we weren't going to come on the list. We always came on the second list. Probably they would take one child, like one of my friends, Sophie. She was the top of the district. So they put her there. But the rest of us didn't come on the list because,
Simply because you're Tutsi.
Simply because our fathers have to go pay a bribe for us to be on the second list. And then obviously the Tutsi parents also had started having private schools, so like Apacop, like España, like all those parents' schools where they have to just make sure that their children are also having a secondary education. But back to the question, on that day, for us children, we thought, great, we gotta go to good schools now. This guy is dead. Things gonna change. Our parents like, no, you have no idea. Yeah. People are gonna die. We are gonna be killed. And my father is actually, don't speak, don't, like, and we all keep quiet. And my dad breaks the news, we're not going anywhere because the killing are gonna start. And indeed, we started hearing bombs. You could hear the bombs from Nyanza, the bombs that are falling in Kigali. You could hear it. It was that bad. And so we started hearing people on the radio, as announcements of, get these people from this neighborhood and that neighborhood. And we started seeing people fleeing from Kigali coming into Nyanza, and from Gikongoro coming. So this is what happened in Nyanza. People all came into Nyanza because Nyanza, the genocide started a bit later. But people were coming from all four corners of Rwanda coming to Nyanza. And we wondered, when it happens to us, where are we going to go? Because everybody's come into our area. Where are we going to go? There was nowhere else to go because now the whole country is, And that's what makes a genocide, because even the poorest person was informed that they have to kill the Tutsi next door. And remember, because Rwandans with radios, so the air really, I think journalism and being on air helped and carried the plan of the genocide, which is why people who use social media use it very well, use it to proclaim good news, because it's very, very a powerful channel of putting the news to people, and people do follow what's being told out there.